What's it like being an extrovert? Friend of mine is extroverted. He has a constant need to socialize and go out. When he's in with nothing to do, I notice that he gets sleepy, bored, or antsy. I joked with him that his apartment is only for sleeping and showering. It's just like playing an RPG. Talk to everyone and you'll gain knowledge, items, and resources. This seems like an introvert's view of an extrovert. Imagine being on a constant energy drain. Whenever you're alone, the more time you're alone, the more energy is wasted. So, in order to not feel out of it and exhausted, you go steal energy from others. That's how I'd describe what it's like to be an extroverted. I think I get the concept, but I have no idea how that'd feel. I feel suffocated by lots of people. If you know what it feels like to steal energy from others, imagine what it feels like to be stolen from. From everyone else's perspective, I just end up staying in my room all day because I'm incredibly lazy. Most of it's actually that I'm charging. As though my room were a docking port for when I'm idle. Most introverts have a better social battery life than I do, so I tend to stay indoors a whole lot. People thinking their social anxiety makes them an introvert. No, stop doing that, Reddit. Stop it. We can talk to people just fine. We don't quake in fear at the thought of ordering a meal. We don't hate people and want to spend every waking moment at home. The only damn thing that makes us introverts is that we lose energy from social interactions. After a time, we prefer to hang out in smaller groups or alone to unwind and recharge for the next occasion we leave the house. I have a lot of friends and social connections, and on any given night I can go do something if I really wanted to. I've held positions in organizations because I know the right people and say the right things. I need to socially interact with people on a daily basis, or honestly I get lonely and sad. I could never live by myself. It's easy to talk to people, and I've met people through friends relatively easy because I'm pretty good at interacting with people, reading signs, knowing what to say in certain situations, etc. just because I've been in a lot of varied social situations throughout my life. That being said, it can be tiring. Having to maintain a bunch of friendships, constantly being on the go and being out and about can drain you. I worry a lot, maybe too much, about people's impressions of me. You are a lot of people's person they come to when things go wrong, which I don't mind because I enjoy helping people. People also can try to use you for social gain. I don't think it is necessarily better or worse to be an introvert or extrovert. It's just how some people are, and some people need more time to themselves than others, and that's just how human nature works. Extroversion-introversion duality is mostly pseudoscience. Vast majority of people are somewhere in the middle and have both extroversion and introversion tendencies depending on context. Binaries help give people a context and comfort. You can translate "I'm introvert" to "I'm generally more introvert than extrovert." I think people intuitively understand this. Though there is a fair amount of self-labeling for self-esteem that's not going to go away anytime soon. I'm a INFJ, I'm a Taurus, that type of thing. I'm very extrovert, but I'm also quite an anxious person. People often think these two things don't go hand in hand, which is annoying. Introverts don't have the monopoly on anxiety. I do binge on other people quite a lot, so I find it really difficult to spend time alone, until I completely burn out. Then I have to be alone for a couple of days. I love and crave company and socializing, probably not great for my liver, kidney, as I do a lot of partying, pubbing, clubbing. On the whole, I can't imagine life is that different. Extroverts and introverts just have different ways of coping with the same issues. I mean, TBH, it's more fun having a lot of introverted friends than extroverted acquaintances, but sometimes PPL think I'm too loud, and all the basic PPL in my school who are friends with every other basic person in the city think I'm quiet, which is funny. Introversion isn't some inherent trait like people make it out to be. In some social environments I am introverted, in others I am extroverted. And honestly, being extroverted isn't as great as I think a lot of self-pitying introverts make it out to be. It often requires effort to keep conversations going and motivation to organize events together with people, even when you receive rejections regularly. There are people I would love to spend more time with, and when they don't want to, it hurts. So, first I'll say I think extroversion is more a continuum than a polarity, so even though I tend to be more extroverted, it's not all or nothing. I still need private time, quiet, etc. It just seems like I need less. I talk to people. In line in the grocery stores, in waiting rooms, wherever. I don't feel intimidated by the prospect, it seems fun and interesting. I'm not oblivious. If a stranger seems like they don't want human interaction, I don't force it, but I find that many do. Especially old people, many of them are incredibly lonely. Crowds can still be exhausting, but I find my threshold is lots higher than average and the annoyance I reach is often more logistical than emotional. I don't mind public speaking. Sure, I get a little nervous before I begin, but generally I feel confident I can do it. Past results say I'm a fluid, funny, warm speaker who gets good responses from my audience. In general, I often want an audience and like being the center of attention. I have memorized a lot of hysterically funny jokes and stories which I revel in the opportunity to tell publicly. I don't behave like an ass clown for attention. I'm 40, not 6, and it isn't a perpetual need, but it doesn't fill me with existential dread like I've noticed in introverts. I also feel more able to communicate when I need emotional support. If I'm sad or lonely or vulnerable, it feels natural and good to say these things aloud. I feel like I get more definitive resolution to emotional issues in my life because I am able to discuss them openly. Again, this is not completely absent any nerves or reservations, simply that those feelings aren't overwhelming. They're there, but they aren't running the show. TLDR, I feel like, in general, I'm a lot less concerned with being judged or looking silly. The stakes on those consequences just feel really low. I enjoy and am fulfilled by human interaction, including strangers. I don't mind public speaking, and I'm more able to share vulnerability without being locked up by existential dread. I am extroverted 100%. Downside first, I get lonely very easily and don't know what to do with myself when I am alone. I fidget or just wanna lay in bed and try and sleep, nothing else to do. The upside is that I look forward to meeting people, and get excited when around them, which is I think a positive trait. It makes the people I am with feel like I am happy to be with them, which I am. Literally rely on social interactions to avoid getting trapped in my own thoughts and ending up getting down for no reason, so by constantly talking to people it helps a lot by distracting me from diving too deep in my own thoughts. I can tell you what it's like being an extrovert with autism. You constantly want to engage with people because you get restless and long for external input when you're alone, but you also get exhausted from conversations and having to be social. So then you go home and think, I'm gonna just chill by myself to recover from this event, and within 15 minutes you're on Discord, Reddit, or on the phone with your mother. It's a paradox. I don't know what to say, like it's just normal life. As an extrovert I can just go and make friends easily. It feels great to have friends everywhere I go. So yeah, it feels great. As an extrovert I suffer from the lack of socialization. It makes me very uneasy and anxiety-ridden, and it's nearly always there. I have this pressure internally to constantly bounce from person to talk to, and the interesting part is, when someone doesn't return my interest for conversation I get very upset and there is a lot of drama as a result of talking to so many people. However, I typically have a really great time with it, but it isn't all peaceful and wonderful lol. When I go to hang out with friends it is like a snowball rolling down a hill. The more people around, for longer, the more energized I get. Until the point where I am practically screaming in normal conversation. Many people are put off by that. That guy is really loud, quiet down, why are you yelling, how do you have so much energy, etc. I don't mean to, I'm just happy you're here. Basically I get agitated when I don't talk to anyone all day. Making conversation is easy because 1, I'm not that afraid to share parts of my life and my thoughts, and 2, I'm naturally curious and honestly want to know about the other person. I also find that I prefer introverted close friends because I feel less pressure to be so bubbly, and can just relax more around them. My roommate is an extrovert with no hobbies and I am an extrovert with many hobbies. Usually we spend the evenings together, but I go through phases where I just wanna work on hobbies, and when that happens this dude spends all evening calling people to talk to and socialize with. He just moved out of his home state so he doesn't know anyone here. I think he physically can't stand a second of not socializing with people. Still, it's good to always have someone willing to go out with without a fuss, since I can be a bit impulsive. I'm kinda extroverted, and when my husband and I first got together and got our own apartment together, I told him that I just needed it to be walkable to interesting things because I'd never spend any time in it anyway. And my husband was like, ah ha ha, that's all well and good, but I need it to actually be nice because I like to spend time relaxing at home. Me, wow, what's that like? I spend a lot more time at home now in my 30s than I did in my 20s, but I still have that part of myself where, if I'm at least surrounded by interesting places to go and people to talk to, I really only need a home base with a bed, and I'm set. Basically a lot like one of the top comments here. My apartment is basically a place for me to sleep and shower, and some months I'm barely there on any weekends. If I do end up there alone though for a weekend, it is one of the longest and most draining things ever. It gets to the point where it could be 11 p.m. on a Sunday night and I'm in bed, but if a friend texts or calls with the promise of some sort of interaction, I will screw up my sleep schedule just to make it happen. Being an extrovert is nice. You are very social. You love talking with your colleagues, classmates, teachers, cashiers, random grandpas on the bench, and etc. You don't get tired of that, and you don't have to force yourself, the conversation just flows, and you enjoy it. I am an introvert, but I am quite talkative and outgoing and confident. I will always strike up conversations in bars, although I do enjoy more intimate conversations and find new group conversations to be particularly draining. I require a lot of downtime and alone time to feel good and on balance. Shyness and social anxiety are their own things, distinct from extroverted or introverted. Being alone tends to make me anxious, and when I go out I sort of dread the idea that I will eventually have to go home and be alone again. I also get the fear of missing out a lot. I can enjoy time by myself, but usually I am still chatting with friends over text the whole time to at least feel a sense of company. It's fun. I used to be such an introvert, so shy and afraid of what others thought of me. Now I'm completely myself and I love talking and being around people. It's kind of neat to see how you can be accepted for whom you really are, when, for years, you thought you were worthless. There is so much to learn from others, and I find great satisfaction from talking to and learning all about everyone.